I don't want to spoil anything, but it was just really...
Stop talking.
Yeah.
Stop talking. You're going to ruin something.
I'm not going to ruin anything.
Welcome to Cloudy with a Chance of Meeples, a channel of conversation and board games.
Hey, my name is Brent.
And I'm Nicole.
Welcome to Cloudy with a Chance of Meeples, and welcome to Sagrada Artisans.
Yes.
Not really, I guess.
No, this isn't Sagrada. We're not playing Sagrada Artisans.
No, this is our game shelf behind us. But
Oh,
behind us, we have the box of Sagrada Artisans. I don't know if you can see how shiny it is.
Beautiful box.
It's rather shiny. And when we found out about this game, we were ecstatic.
Oh, yeah.
I like Sagrada. You love Sagrada. Like, I like it quite a bit, and you love it.
Like, top 3 favorite games of all time. It's in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when this was announced, we were like, let's do this. We've now done this. It's coloring. You can color in the lines or choose not to, but that's up to you. And we're gonna talk about our thoughts on the game.
Yep.
Spoiler free.
Yeah, we're not going to ruin anything.
We won't ruin anything.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. And so I'm going to show you how this plays in the radar overview. Again, I'm not going to spoil anything. Just going to show you the fundamentals of Sagrada Artisans. Our final forecast coming up. Cue the thunder. So the radar overview for Sagrada Artisans. Look at the shiny, shiny box. This box is amazing. But what's in this game? I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm just going to show you what you get. You get a deck of cards, which is the story. I will say that. Nothing there. Spoil. You'll get a deck of cards. That's the story. So you'll do that. You'll also get a box where you'll be putting some stickers that you'll then be putting some stickers on some stickery things. Stickery is actually not a word. A market box where you can purchase some things. You get a discard box, which I'm not going to shake up because I don't want you to hear anything. Each player will get this little Sagrada Artisans journal. This is what they will be playing the windows, the whole game in. I'm not going to lift up anything. This is kind of your toolbox capacity. This will open up later on during the game. You'll also get a whole bunch of different envelopes, which again, I'm not going to spoil anything. Do not open. Okay? I'm not going to open it. But I'm going to show you kind of the bare bones as to how this game plays. If you have played Sagrada, most of this will be fairly familiar. Actually, virtually all of it will be very familiar to you. But each player will start with their journal. I'm just going to show you the first window. And truthfully, if you would go and flip through all of these windows, you can kind of figure out what's going to happen a little bit in the story, maybe just a little bit of how each window, the new rules and whatnot. But you get some pencil crayons, you got a story, you got some new rules, you got some objectives that you're going to be following. So in this window 1, you get 4 points per column with all different values. So every column you have that only has, different values, that no repeating numbers, you'll get 4 points. And then the vertical color balance, 3 points per pair of the same color in the same position on the top and the bottom. So blue here, 3 points. Green here, 3 points. So on and so forth. And then 7 points per row with all different values. So then you don't 1 through 6 in each of these rows. So you'll be trying to score that. You'll also get a private objective. So in each of them, you'll get a special objective card. I'm not going to show you one. This is one for window 10. It'll look like that, and it'll show you kind of what areas that you want to color in, and the sum of those points. Some of those areas will be different points. Then you always have some tool cards that you can use. Anytime you use a tool card, you'll then color it in. So you can only use this hand or this hake brush once, but this grinding stone you can use it 2 times, and this cork back straight edge you can use 3 times. Each of them that you don't use at the end of the game will also be worth 1 victory point. And so on a round, there's 12 rounds per game, and there's multiple games in this whole scenario, or the whole game, if that makes sense. But in a 2-player game, you take out 5 dice. That's 4. I'm good at math. There you go. And you would have a selection of these dice. So one person would take one, then the next player would take 2, and then the starting player would take 1 with 1 remaining at the end of each round. So imagine I take this 1. At that point, I could just color in this 1 red. I'd take my pencil crayon and I would do that. Or I could take this 1 and I could just draw 1 here. At the same time, I could put a 1 here and then color it in red. It doesn't matter. Any die that I take moving forward, let's just imagine, because I don't want to color it in my window right now, I did that. I would have drawn 1 and put the red, shaded that in. And then if it comes back to me, then, you know, I could take this purple one and I could put it here. Again, I'd be using the pencil crayons, not the physical dice. I could do that. I have to continue either diagonally or orthogonally or from one that I've already placed. I couldn't on my next turn all of a sudden put something here unless I use a different tool. But that in a nutshell is how you play the game. You'll be filling this up. There's different things. These little stars will come in. In this one it says, you know, this window has 2 start spaces at the end of the journal. When every player has filled in these spaces, open up envelope N. There you go. And so that'll show something right there at the start of the game. And then you would write your final score. You can name it. You can color all this as you go. And then after you do your final scoring, depending on how you did, you would go and you get legacy points. And you'd fill in these things. And, you know, if you got second place or third place, if you're playing a 3 or 4 player game, you get money to spend, and you can spend money to buy tool cards and different things to help you out. And so that's really all I'm going to show you as to how this game plays, because I don't want to spoil anything and any of the legacy aspects. So there you have it. That in a nutshell is Sagrada Artisans. Let's move on over now and check out the final forecast. So the final forecast for Sagrada Artisans, a coloring game. Game all about creating fantastic looking windows. Stained glass windows.
Stained glass, yep.
Much like Sagrada, the OG, right?
Yep.
So let's just dive in. Okay? Let's dive in. The box looks amazing. I'm going to talk about components. We're going to talk about components. What do you think of the components overall?
I mean, obviously the dice were nice, as usual.
Mm-hmm.
I had a bit of an issue with the coloring pencils. I felt like, I mean, you did too. Like some of them worked really well, like some of the colors, and then some of the colors were, well, first of all, the colors were a bit off from like the actual colors that are already kind of pre-colored on there.
Yes.
And as well as like comparing it to the dice, like they're a little like it was different shades of colors, which I guess in printing is probably really hard to get the exact shades. Yeah. So that's fair, but it was a little tricky to like, especially for me the red and the purple were really hard to tell apart.
For me, the red are the purple and the blue. I'm partially colorblind, so that
yeah. But like the red and the purple actually looked really similar on the paper. For the stuff that was printed on there.
Oh, the pre-printed, yeah.
So that was always like, oh, is this red or is this purple? But anyway, that was very minor. And then like the black or gray, whatever, black, I think, pencil that was in there was constantly, breaking. At least mine, constantly breaking. So I had to sharpen it. Like, it's nice that it came with the sharpener. That was actually really cool. I like that sharpener a lot. And the sharpener actually worked really well.
And we used it a lot.
So I have to say the sharpener was great. But those colored pencils weren't the highest quality in my opinion.
No, and I wrote that down as well. I think the pencil crayons, the color pencils, they were meh. They're all right. We used an actual different pencil because you have to write. you have to write the number in first, then color in what section you're coloring in. Because if you color in first and then try to write the number, it's
impossible.
It's almost impossible to see.
But at the same time, it was nice because that black pencil that was in there was non-smudging.
Right.
So like I found if I used a regular pencil and then colored over top of it, the pencil just smudged everywhere.
Right.
So yeah, it wasn't, overall it was okay, but it wasn't like the greatest.
No. Like, so the box, everything looks good. It's got all these like different envelopes. I don't know how many, 20 some envelopes, a couple of like wooden crates. You got some a big story deck of cards, which we'll talk about the story momentarily.
Yeah.
So overall, like the components were pretty good. The journals won't going to show, but you know they worked well. The pencil crayons, kind of a miss on my part.
Yeah.
And the rules were kind of meh as well. There were a bunch of times where we had to wonder, like, okay, I think we're reading the rules properly.
Yeah.
And I know the Floodgate Games has already put some stuff out online to
Kind of fix
those things. So hopefully in future printings, they will kind of sort out that issue for sure of the rules. And I would love for them to fix the issue of the pencils as well.
Yeah.
But moving on to that story, I personally felt the story was like background.
Yeah, it was a little bit pasted on. It didn't quite feel. I mean, it was fine.
Yeah, it was a fine story.
But it was kind of like, yeah, it didn't totally flow super well, but.
Well, I feel flowed, but it wasn't like
it was.
It wasn't like it didn't ramp up.
Yeah,
it was like
hard, and it was hard to follow.
You're following a couple families renovate or build the cathedral. That's kind of about it.
Yeah,
and that's not a spoiler. If you look at every one of the windows, and it like even the front cover flap.
Yeah.
You're just going through this like timeline of your family's building. Like that's about it. So
yeah, it was,
to me it was all right.
It was fine. It was also a little bit long. Maybe not the story itself, but just the game. I guess we'll get into that later, but
right. Okay, but like the story is all right, but I like the arc of the whole campaign personally. Okay, so like the whole campaign will be about 10 to 12 hours. I would say the 2-player count. Again, we can't speak on the 4-player count or 3-player count for that matter. But 2 players, you're going to get about 10 to 12 hours, right?
I would say so. Yeah.
And it kind of just builds up. So it starts pretty easy. If you've played Sagrada before, you're going to open this up and you're going to do the first window and you're going to be like, okay, this makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. And then it starts adding a few things. Again, we don't want to spoil anything.
It gets progressively more complex, I would say, through like as it should. So that was good.
And by the end of the final window, it took us 2 hours almost to finish it because there was a lot to think about. There was a lot going on.
It was really long.
And it was
fun.
It was a lot of fun. I was sitting there multiple times in that session just saying like, man, this is awesome. This is fantastic. Like this is just like the apex of the whole campaign. Like it kind of builds up.
They did really well. It was like the opposite of my island.
Yeah.
Like my island fell so flat, and this felt like it was supposed to be this way. Like it felt right.
It crescendoed
totally
until the end, and I really like that. And each window kind of gets progressively harder.
Yeah.
And there's tools that will come into play because if you've played normal Sagrada, you'll know that there's tools that you can use, and they integrate that in this pretty well.
I think so too.
So
some of the rule things with the tools are a little convoluted, and we weren't quite sure. But overall, it was pretty good, I would say.
Yeah, and so we just kind of.
And the tools are helpful. Like you by the end of the campaign, like you need these tools. Like you can't. Really play the game without them.
You will not do very well.
No.
And so like. I talked to Adrian. If you want to know more about the design of this, I'll post a link to my ideas conversation with Adrian in that. But talking to him before we played it and now we're playing it, it's just crazy how he says, like the design work, there's just so much involved in legacy games and how you have to like balance everything. If someone's like, you know, so far ahead, how do you get that catch up so that people don't be like, I'm quitting halfway through or whatever.
This was really well balanced.
I think this was well balanced. You got out ahead. I think you won like 4 out of the first 5 games or 3 out of the first 4, something like that.
Yeah.
Like I did not do very well, and yet I was able to kind of claw back. I don't remember which window it was, but they open up kind of like this like sub game that you're trying to fiddle with and try to score points that way. And I really like that because it just brought that much more thinkiness and crunchiness to each of the windows.
Yeah, it was good.
And
it was a lot to think about. And I guess depending on you and how you play games, like the length of each round,
session,
whatever, could vary because, like, for me, I found I had a lot of AP with this because I was sitting there thinking, okay, what do I do if I do this, and if I do that, then oh no, I can't do that, and like you just it's a lot of thinking.
And turns take longer because it's not just I take this and I put it here. It's I take this, I take this pencil crayon, I color this in. First I write my number, then I color it in. Yeah. And then I do it again.
I can't imagine playing this 4-player.
I honestly can't imagine playing a 4-player.
I mean,
yes, there would be lots of stuff. Your windows and everything around your window will be colored in if you were playing a 4-player because you would have that much time in between your turns.
I think 2-player was perfect for us.
And I don't know, I really liked the whole coloring aspect of it.
Yeah, it was
I know
fun.
we were talking about the pencil crayons, like they were all right. They're functional, but they weren't superb. But it was a lot of fun when you were just chilling, when you were trying to figure things out. I could just take my pencil and just start like coloring random things on the outside of the windows. And I thought that was really fun. It was relaxing, right? Mm-hmm. And so I really like that. And I will say, kind of back to the story, I said it kind of like apexed at like the final one. It was a big crescendo at the final one.
Right.
And those that love Sagrada, I think will really love how this ends.
I agree.
Without spoiling anything, I think this is like, it was a really, really cool ending. Didn't see how they were going to do that, or I don't want to spoil anything, but it was just really...
Stop talking. Yeah. Stop talking. You're going to ruin something.
I'm not going to ruin anything, but that was really, really cool. And so
it was cool.
If you're a fan of Sagrada, I think you will enjoy this.
Yep.
It says in the front of the rule book that if you haven't played Sagrada, no need to worry. You can figure it out. I don't know about that one. I'm not totally convinced on that because of the rules. They're a little bit vague, but because we played Sagrada so much, we kind of be like,
we kind of made assumptions based on
playing Sagrada, right?
But yeah, I would say it would actually be quite confusing for somebody who has no concept of Sagrada.
Yeah.
Personally.
I would agree.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know,
But, I mean, at the same time, people are smart. They can figure it out. But it would take a lot longer to figure things out, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
And back to, the windows. I'm just looking at some of these. I loved it how, in Sagrada, it's just a grid. And the first few are just straight grids. And then they bring in, like, just pictures.
Yeah.
And how those pictures are broken up. And it's not necessarily corner to corner anymore. It's like borders or corner. It's corner to corner, but it's borders or like a corner. It's just different.
Yeah.
It's like different. In one of them, you're coloring a tree trunk. And whatever, that's not a spoiler because if you flip through all the pages when you start it, you'll see it. And so the pictures just become really cool. And then you really have to start thinking, again, it gets crunchier and crunchier.
It's a lot more going on. Yep.
A lot more going on than.
But it was a good pace. Like, I didn't find it overwhelming.
No.
Yeah, I just found the sessions a little bit long, but.
Yeah.
Whatever. I'm also a short gamer, so.
Yep. I'm rubbing off on you.
So I'm really excited to play regular Sagrada again.
Yeah, you actually asked.
I know.
We finished this. You're like,
I was like, can we play regular Sagrada now? Just because it reminded me of my love for the game, but I also love that it's so short and we can play like 3 games in
an hour.
Less than an hour, probably. Yeah.
Right on. So let's wrap it all up. Final rating. What would you give Sagrada Artisans?
All right. So overall, I liked this a lot. If given the chance, would probably do it again.
Which I should say, you can get a recharge pack of the whole campaign, so you can do it a second time. But go ahead.
But I like regular Sagrada better, so I give this one an 85% chance of meeples.
You know what? I'm actually the same. I'm at 85 as well.
Fair.
I enjoyed it as we're talking about it, as I'm looking at the journal and the different pages, and it's just bringing back, and it's not that long ago. We just finished like a week ago.
Yeah.
Bringing back the memories and just the story and those times, those 10 to 12 hours, those evenings that we just were able to play this game and chill and relax, and then how it built up. And I love that. I hope they fix the rules, and I would love for them to get better components on the coloring.
Yeah.
Pencils and
honestly,
stuff like that.
If those things had been...
It could have been higher for me.
Could have been higher for me too.
Yeah.
But 85 is not bad. So.
Higher than any test score I got in high school. So.
Oh dear.
But anyways,
all right.
There you have it. 85 from Nicole and myself for Sagrada Artisans. If you're a fan of it, fan of Sagrada, definitely check this one out.
Highly recommend.
Same with myself. My name is Brent.
And I'm Nicole.
Check us out on Facebook, Cloudy with a Chance of Meeples. Till next time, grab your umbrella. The forecast is cloudy with a chance of meeples.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember to grab your umbrella because the forecast is cloudy with a chance of meeples.